This is how you tap a tree. You can almost instantly see the sap dripping right out of this hole here. If we do this 4,000 more times, then we'll have this whole place covered.
But this is only the beginning. There's a lot more that has to happen to get maple syrup from the tree to your pancakes. Simply put, maple syrup is made by evaporating the water out of sap to achieve a liquid with a high sugar concentration. I'm at the Burgess Sugar House in Underhill, Vermont to see how sap becomes syrup.
In our sugar bush, we primarily tap a sugar maple. They give off a little bit more of a percentage of sugar in sap. So we run what's called a high vacuum system, and you can actually tell when you pop it out, you do have the vacuum going, and it's making it so there's a higher pressure in the tree, and the tree is always wanting to push the sap out.
So you're not sucking sap from the tree. It's
not actually sucking it, no, it's pulling the tree to actually push the sap out.
It's pretty much, it tastes like water with a little bit of maple-y flavor in there. There's not much sweetness to it at this point,
right,
but
so
it is just a little bit sweet.
At this point, we're at about 2% sugar content in the tree. Ultimately, when we boil it down, we'll get to 66.9% sugar, and then it'll be maple syrup.
To make just 1 gallon of maple syrup requires 40 gallons of sap, which takes 4 trees to produce.
So you have all these white tubes, and they feed into the black feeder lines. The black feeder lines go into a big old black line, which collects all the different trees. You have, what, 4,000 taps on here. They all collect into one main line. This is the main line, and these are the feeder lines that come in.
You can actually hear the slurp from the vacuum of all the sap being collected from the trees.
And that goes all the way down into the sugar house, and that's where the business happens of making sap into syrup.
Here in the sugar house, the sap is boiled until it reaches a 67% sugar concentration. Only then is it considered pure maple syrup.
So what this will do, that'll take all the raw sap that we saw earlier out in the woods, which is about 2% sugar content. And what we do is we make it about a 10% sugar content, so it takes out about 80% of the water. And now it's getting poured down into here. It's going to be a vicious boil that will happen, and it's kind of like using a pressure cooker system. And it'll go back and forth through these troughs, getting thicker and thicker each time. And by the time it gets to here, hopefully it's syrup, and syrup comes off at 7 degrees above the boiling point of water. And right now, this is pre-syrup. You want it to be at that red line right there. So we have a few degrees to go. So what we're doing is we're taking 40 gallons of syrup right now. We mixed it with 14 cups of diatomaceous earth.
So what does the diatomaceous earth do?
What it does is there's a series of filters in here that diatomaceous earth will get caught in each one of those as it goes down the series, and it helps catch all the impurities that are still in the syrup. It may look a little muddy in here, but it looks like apple juice when it comes out. So now what we do is we'll put it in our grading kit that we get from the state of Vermont, and we'll check it against their standards.
Maple syrup is graded according to color. The darker the syrup, the stronger the flavor.
This is the final check. What this does is it actually checks the clarity of the syrup as light passes through it. So now after this syrup started out as sap in a tree about a mile away, and now this will be our finished product. Now you can drink it right out of there.
Cheers! Nice, hot, and delicious.